Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I have a motion as well. That City Council requests the Province of Ontario to enact regulations under the Employment Standard Act 2000, which would ensure that all taxicab drivers are entitled to minimum wage and other employment protections, i.e. entitlement to overtime pay, public holidays and holiday pay, regardless of whether or not the taxicab driver is leasing a taxicab or is considered an employee for the purposes of this Act. Speaker, we have the proposal that we have in front of us from staff with Councillor McMahon's motions to bring back the pieces that were deleted at committee solves one important injustice, the distinction between the ambassador plates and the standard plates. That's an important piece of work. It also does important work in trying to eliminate the middlemen who don't actually deliver any public service at all, but simply profit off the work of others. But it leaves an important group of people unprotected, and those are the shift drivers who do not own a license to operate a cab. Those shift drivers often work below minimum wage. They often work outside of the requirements that any employee anywhere in the province of Ontario would have, the protections they would have under law in terms of overtime pay, in terms of occupational health and safety protections, in terms of working longer than a set number of hours per week. In other words, they become some of the worst treated employees anywhere in the economy. Now, this is a growing trend, not just in this industry. In fact, the number of people who now in our economy in Canada are working as self-employed, when in fact they work only for one boss, has doubled in the last decade. And the reason is very simple. Employers don't want to have to pay the premiums for health, the Ontario health premium that they have to pay on their payroll. They don't want to contribute to pension. They don't want to contribute to all of the other entitlements that protect workers both when they're working now and when they can't work because they've been injured or they're past retirement age. It's a growing trend in our economy, and it happens for one reason and one reason alone, which is that employers don't want to contribute their fair share in terms of wages and a contribution to the protection of workers under employment standards. It's shameful and it must end. Now, it's interesting, a further thing that's interesting about how this change in our economy is taking place is that newcomers to Canada are 30% more likely than those of us who were born here to be shoved into this fake self-employment category, as if they're somehow going to become rich millionaires running a business of their own, when in fact they're just direct contractors and they should be covered as employees in law. It's an injustice in our economy. It's an injustice that does not exist in Europe. In Europe, these drivers are treated as employees. It's an injustice that does not exist in British Columbia, where they have specific protections in the Employment Standards Act. It's an injustice that we have to fight as a council by making the provincial government aware that they have to treat the hardworking women and men in the taxi industry the same as the hardworking women and men in any other industry, and give them those basic protections in law, the minimum wage, the occupational health and safety standards, the right to vacation pay, the right to overtime pay. The same things that we would expect if our children got jobs in any industry anywhere in this country. Now, I want to note that I took the trouble of asking staff, would asking the province to enter into this conversation with us jeopardize any other of the reforms that are in front of us? And staff answered no. There is no conflict here. This is not changing the package of reforms. What it is making it clear to the province of Ontario, we want a conversation starting now about protecting workers in the City of Toronto who drive our taxis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perks.